Why did a single bird weighing less than 5 pounds cause a state-of-the-art $100 million aircraft to fall from the sky? It sounds like a glitch in the Matrix. How can a creature made of nothing but feathers and hollow bone-shattered titanium blades specifically designed to withstand the force of a hurricane? The answer is chilling. It happened on January 15th. It was a perfectly ordinary winter afternoon in New York City. Passengers were scrolling through their phones, flight attendants were securing the cabin, and the pilots were preparing for a routine departure from LaGuardia. No one saw the threat coming, but what was about to happen over the Hudson River would be etched into the history books forever. Think about the sheer engineering brilliance of a GE-90 jet engine. This isn't just a machine, it's a 115,000-pound thrust titan. It is built with superalloys and carbon fiber composites that can operate at temperatures higher than their own melting point. It is the pinnacle of human achievement. Now look at the opponent, a Canada Goose. It's a migratory bird. It's soft, it's light, and to the naked eye, it's completely harmless. But in the world of high-speed aviation, this ordinary bird transforms into a devastating kinetic weapon. When a 10-pound object meets a jet engine traveling at takeoff speeds, the impact isn't just a collision, it's an explosion. The titanium blades don't just bend, they fracture, sending jagged shrapnel screaming through the heart of the engine at supersonic speeds. This is the hidden danger every pilot fears, a threat that radar can't track and armor can't always stop. Just seconds after liftoff, the silence of the cockpit was shattered by a sound no one ever wants to hear. A series of massive, bone-shaking thuds. Flames began erupting from the back of the engines. In an instant, the world's most advanced flying machine was transformed into a 150,000-pound glider. Here's exactly how it went down. It's 3:25 p.m. The twin engines of the Airbus A320 begin their powerful rhythmic scream. These are CFM56 turbofans, marvels of modern engineering, capable of swallowing tons of air every single second. As the pilot pulls back on the side stick, the aircraft tilts upward, slicing through the crisp, cold air over Queens. To the passengers looking out the windows, it's a beautiful routine day. To the pilots, it's just another standard climb out. But at 3:27 p.m., the world changes. At precisely 3,000 feet, a wall of gray and brown erupts in front of the cockpit glass. A massive flock of Canada geese. In the aviation world, we call this a saturated strike. There's no window of escape, no time to dive, no time to pray. The sound of the impact? It isn't a roar. It isn't like the thunder you hear during a summer storm. It's a dry, hollow cook, a sickening metallic crunch that vibrates through every bone in your body. It is the sound of solid bone and feathers meeting spinning titanium at 500 miles per hour. It tears through the cockpit silence, instantly shattering the professional calm of the crew. Think about the brutal physics happening inside those nacelles. The fan blades are rotating at over 16,000 revolutions per minute. The tips of these blades are moving at near supersonic speeds. When the birds are sucked into that spinning vortex, the blades don't just bend, they fracture. In a heartbeat, the engine's internal balance is obliterated. Those once perfectly tuned blades transform into suicide shrapnel. They are flung outward by massive centrifugal force, pummeling the internal housing and shredding the high-pressure hydraulic lines like they were made of paper. These aren't just engine parts anymore. They have become jagged, white-hot projectiles tearing the machine apart from the inside out. The results are catastrophic. The high-pressure compressed air, the invisible force that actually keeps the plane in the sky, simply vanishes. The engine surges violently. A massive shockwave echoes across the New York skyline as the internal core temperature skyrockets. We are talking about temperatures surging past the melting point of the very metal meant to contain the fire. In the cockpit, the master caution light blinks to life, casting a red glow over the pilots' faces. The digital displays turn into a sea of red warnings. The vibrant, comforting hum of the engines is replaced by a terrifying, hollow whistle of the wind. A pungent smell of burnt organic material and unburnt jet fuel begins to waft through the air conditioning vents, filling the cabin with a scent of impending disaster. The timeline is brutally fast. At 3:27:11, the engines were at full power. By 3:27:14, both engines are dead. Dead. The plane has been transformed into a 60-ton glider over one of the most densely populated cities on Earth. The pilots look at their altitude, 3,000 feet. They are dropping at a rate of over 2,000 feet per minute. The passengers are in shock. The cabin crew is frozen. The silence after the explosion is deafening. In less than 60 seconds, a routine flight has become a desperate fight for survival. But how is it even possible? How can a bird, something so fragile, cause a failure so total and so terrifying? To understand why this tiny assassin possesses such devastating power, we first need to look at the brutal reality of kinetic energy. But how does something so soft destroy something so hard? It's a question that keeps aeronautical engineers awake at night. To understand the terrifying power of a bird strike, we have to look at the cold, hard physics of kinetic energy. Explained in super basic animation, the formula is simple. Kinetic energy equals half the mass times the velocity squared. Notice that squared part. That is the silent killer. If you double the speed of an object, you don't just double its impact, you quadruple it. When a 4-pound Canada Goose hits a jet engine traveling at 500 miles per hour, it isn't just a bird anymore. it becomes a high-velocity projectile. We are talking about an impact force of nearly 25 tons hitting a single fan blade in a fraction of a millisecond. That is the equivalent of dropping a mid-sized truck from a 10-story building and having it land directly on a piece of metal no thicker than a kitchen knife. At those speeds, the organic tissue of the bird doesn't just splatter, it behaves like a solid, unyielding mass. It's like firing a cannonball into a delicate clockwork mechanism. But how does a jet engine actually try to defend itself? To understand this, we need to look at the anatomy of a modern high-bypass turbofan. Think of it as a massive, high-tech fortress. The front fan you see when you walk down the jet bridge is the frontline defense. These blades are masterpieces of engineering, often made from hollow titanium or advanced carbon fiber. In a high-bypass engine, like the ones on that ill-fated Airbus, only about 20% of the air actually goes into the core to be burned. The other 80% the bypass air flows around the outside. The fan is designed to act as a giant centrifugal separator. Because the blades are spinning at such extreme speeds, the sheer rotational force is supposed to fling any foreign object, whether it's a bird, ice, or a stray bolt, outward into the bypass duct. From there, the object is harmlessly spat out the back of the engine without ever touching the sensitive internal machinery. It is a brilliant system, a high-speed game of physics where the engine is designed to win every time. But there is a limit, a threshold where engineering meets the raw, unpredictable chaos of nature. When you hit a massive flock, like the one over the Hudson, the volume of material simply overwhelms the centrifugal system. Instead of being flung outward, the remains are sucked into the high-pressure compressor, the heart of the engine. Here, the air is being squeezed into a space a fraction of its original size. The tolerances are microscopic. When bird remains enter this hot section, they don't just clog the works, they vaporize. The organic material coats the internal cooling holes of the turbine blades, causing them to overheat and fail instantly. The engine doesn't just stop, it chokes on the very air it needs to breathe. This is exactly what happened at 3,000 feet. The sheer density of the flock turned a multi-million-dollar safety system into a smoldering ruin in less than 3 seconds. So how do we know if an engine is actually safe to fly? How do we test for a nightmare? Welcome to one of the most bizarre and extreme facilities in the world of aviation testing. Engineers call it the bird ingestion test, but everyone else knows it as the chicken cannon. Yes, it is exactly what it sounds like. Since the 1970s, to get an engine certified by the FAA, manufacturers have to prove their machines can survive a bird strike. They use a large-bore, compressed air cannon to fire bird carcasses directly into a running engine at full takeoff power. It is a brutal, high-stakes trial. To pass, the engine must be able to ingest a bird of a specific weight, usually around 4 pounds, without the outer casing exploding. The engine is allowed to shut down, but it must contain all the internal shrapnel. It cannot throw a blade through the side of the engine and into the passenger cabin. For decades, there was a legendary debate in the industry. Do you use frozen chickens or thawed ones? Frozen chickens acted like solid blocks of ice, which was too extreme, while thawed birds mimic the actual density of a living creature in flight. Today, these tests have become so sophisticated that they use gelatin-based projectiles to ensure absolute scientific accuracy. But even with all this testing, a saturated strike hitting an entire flock remains the ultimate black swan event. It is the one scenario that even the most advanced simulations can't fully prepare for. But history has a way of leaving us clues. This isn't the first time the sky has turned against the machine. To understand the strategy behind modern aviation safety, we have to look at the ghosts of the past. Think back to the miracle on the Hudson, Flight 1549. Captain Chesley Sullyverger had exactly 208 seconds from the moment the birds hit to the moment the plane touched the water. 208 seconds to make a series of life or death decisions that would normally take hours of deliberation. When the engines failed, the internal explosion was catastrophic. The turbine blades were pummeled until they caught fire. But here's the aha moment that most people miss. The plane didn't break apart. Why? Because after decades of studying wreckage and analyzing previous crashes, engineers had reinforced the airframe to withstand a water landing. They had designed the ditching button that seals the vents in the bottom of the fuselage to keep the plane afloat. They had practiced the evacuation slides that double as life rafts. Every single safety protocol you see today, from the way the engines are mounted to the wing to the specific instructions in your safety card, is written in the ink of past tragedies. We learned from the Sabalan, we learned from the Sahand, and we learned from the Hudson. We realized that while we can't stop the birds from flying, we can build a machine that protects the humans inside even when the engines fail. It is a constant battle between the pinnacle of human achievement and the unpredictable forces of the natural world. But wait, there's more. Reports suggest that a new breed of smart engines is on the horizon. These engines will use AI-driven sensors and LiDAR to detect flocks miles away, automatically adjusting the engine's RPM or even the flight path to avoid a strike before it even happens. It's the next upgrade in our digital defense system. Ultimately, the goal of all this engineering, all this testing, and all this history is one thing: to secure the sky. It is a silent, ongoing war to ensure that the 30,000 feet between you and the ground remain the safest place on Earth. We make original videos animated by humans from scratch to show you the hidden reality behind the world's most complex machines. Because when you understand how things work, the world feels a little less terrifying. But why is the aviation industry so obsessed with tracking these tiny threats? To understand the strategy behind this, we need to look at the global cost of bird strikes, which exceeds $1 billion every year. It isn't just about safety, it's about the survival of the industry itself. As we move into an era of more crowded skies and faster planes, the battle between feathers and titanium is only going to get more intense. The question isn't if another strike will happen, but if we will be ready when it does. We have spent over a century perfecting the art of flight, transforming ourselves from ground-dwelling creatures into masters of the upper atmosphere. But as advanced as our technology becomes, we are still guests in a domain that belonged to the birds long before we arrived. Every time you board a plane, you're trusting in a legacy of engineering that was forged in fire and tested in the most extreme conditions imaginable. It is a testament to human ingenuity that we can turn a catastrophic failure into a miracle. The sky is a beautiful, dangerous place, and we are just beginning to master its secrets. But remember, the next time you see a bird outside your window as you're taking off, you're not looking at a pest. You're looking at the ultimate test of human engineering. Stay curious, stay informed, and always keep looking up. The sky is a vast, beautiful battlefield where human ingenuity meets the raw unpredictability of nature. We often treat flight as a mundane chore, but every takeoff is a calculated triumph of physics over gravity. The reality is simple: the sky will never be 100% safe. But here's the truth: every bird strike, every engine surge, and every split-second decision in the cockpit serves as a vital lesson. These events are the blueprints for the millions of safe landings that happen every single year. We make original videos animated by humans from scratch to show you the incredible intelligence hidden behind every flight. It's easy to feel vulnerable at 30,000 feet, but when you understand the layers of redundancy, the brutal chicken cannon trials, and the history forged into every failsafe, that vulnerability transforms into respect. You aren't just a passenger. You are a witness to a century of survival and a legacy of engineering that refuses to fail. We want to hear your story. Have you ever had a moment in the air that made you truly appreciate the tech underneath you? Or do you think AI sensors are the final upgrade we need to end the threat of bird strikes for good? Let us know in the comments below. Your curiosity is what keeps this channel flying. The sky belonged to the birds long before we arrived, but the legacy of our safety is built on every challenge we have mastered. Every lesson learned is a promise kept to the next generation of travelers. Stay curious, and as always, keep looking up.